So with the basics behind slicers being said, let's have a look at two other important features before we dive deeper into slicers and other visual types. Because the way our information is displayed here, well, depends on some settings. Now, what do I mean by that? In our population by region name visual here, we have the sum of the population for all our periods. So here, for example, if you hover over this, you see this really huge number here. Now, the thing is that the sum is not necessarily the default aggregation level that Power BI applies right here. This depends, for example, on the visual you use, on the data you use, and so on. But how can you see what the so-called default summarization is in your visual? Well, you can do this if you select the visual, then you go into your visualizations column, and then here you have the fields you use in your visual. At the moment, the population field, so the field in our value area, defines the numbers behind our population for the different regions. Therefore, if you click onto this arrow here, you can see this menu. And in this menu right here, you have the option to change the default summarization method for the data in this visual. You might remember the default summarization in the conditional formatting part when we talked about the data format for the line colors and the bar colors here. This is basically the same concept. So if I would change it from sum to average, you see the chart changes, of course, and also the number decreased because, well, obviously the average is a lower value than the sum we have. You can also change to a different one, for example, the minimum value, which is, well, basically 0 values here for specific age groups apparently, so not the best data points in our data set here, or you can go to maximum and so on. So this is what default summarization is all about. And this is also important to know because sometimes, well, visuals don't show you the data the way it is intended to be shown. And let's change it back to sum, by the way. And therefore, make sure to check this option and to, well, adjust it according to your needs. This is one thing which has an impact onto the visual appearance of our, well, charts. And there is another option, and this is the sorting, well, we have inside our visual. Because you can see by default, we have this descending order. So we have the largest value here, and then it decreases. This is not necessarily what you want to have though. For this, if you select the visual again and click onto these three dots up here, then you have the option to change the order from descending to ascending, for example. Now, well, kind of the other way around. Or if you click again, you can go to sort by here, and then you can define what the data should be sorted by. At the moment, we sort by the population count, but you could also sort it by the region name. If you do that, you have an alphabetical order, Africa, Asia, Europe, and so on. And if you again go back to the three dots, you can change it back again to descending. Then you would have, well, this way of displaying the data. I think for us, we can actually switch back to ascending. I think this looks quite good, and stick to this sorting order for the moment. By the way, these options, of course, depend on the visual type, as I said. If you would go to a line chart here and select the three dots, you don't have these options. So this is always depending, well, on the visual that you're currently using. What, of course, is available in the line chart too, this is the default summarization. So keep the visual selected, go to the values area, here to population, and here you can again change it from the sum to the average, for example, which would change our visual here. But we need our sum, so let's change it back. So these are two additional concepts you have to understand to create the visuals exactly according to your needs. With that, it's time to continue, and I want to continue with some new visuals, also using our slicer as a base.